Hey everybody. I apologize. The last video just mysteriously got shut off really quick, so I jumped on my Wi-Fi. But many people across the nation, including in Arizona, and I'm going to show you the truth from Arizona, but it's the same across the board. Many people say that they wonder how CPS or DCS or child safety seems to have it where the judge is there. They just decide to follow everything DCS or CPS says. They seem like they check off on whatever they want, give them their way most of the time. And a lot of times people are wondering what the heck is going on. So I'm going to invite some people on. The video got a little messed up, so I'm redoing it. But I want you guys to see this, and I want you to share it everywhere, because the truth is about to come out and everything is about to be exposed. The time is up for these clowns stealing our kids, lying to us, deceiving us. The day is done, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you guys some things. Please invite everybody on if you can. I'm going to show you guys some things to explain how we're being deceived and how we're being tricked. So the first thing I'm going to do is talk about an administrative law judge. An administrative law judge is someone who deals with an administration or agency. It's really deep because it's different from a judge that's acting in his judicial capacity, meaning he's making a decision between somebody being done right or wrong, and he's not connected to anybody in the case. So he stands impartially. Now, a lot of people say, oh, these judges aren't impartial in family court. Well, we're going to find out why today, and we're going to see what's really going on, and we're going to expose this to the world. Now, I only want this video to be about 10 minutes, so it's 8:24. Please, somebody, let me know when we're at the 5-minute mark. Let me know when we're at the 10-minute mark. But this is about to get deep, okay? It's going to be really deep. Now, I'm going to see if I can turn this video around, and I'm going to let you guys see a couple of things. Okay, what I want you to see is here. It says, it is well settled in administrative law. It is the accepted rule, not only in state courts, but in federal courts as well, that when a judge is enforcing administrative law, they are described as mere extensions of the agency for superior reviewing purposes as a ministerial clerk for an agency. Okay, so you see the case law there. I want you guys to go check it out. Don't take my word for it. But what we see here is that an administrative law judge is not a judge that is separate and apart from the agency. The judge that's an administrative law judge is actually one who actually stands in as a extension of the agency, and they're not impartial. So we've been fighting the wrong fight for our children. We've been fighting thinking that a judge is supposed to make a decision on the evidence and be impartial, not knowing that the judge could possibly be working in an administrative capacity. Let's look at some more to see what an administrative judge would do, okay? Now, this is super important because we have a lot of things that are happening to us and we don't understand why we're being raped the way that we are. So I got a few case laws. I want you guys to check these out. So let's look. It says here, we just saw this one, that the judge is working as an extension, as a ministerial clerk for an agency. So when we wonder, why in the world does it feel like CPS is just taking every single thing that DCS says, or the judge, and signing off on it and let them do whatever they want to do? The reason is because it is well settled in administrative law that it is the accepted rule, not only in state courts, but the federal courts as well, that when a judge is enforcing administrative law, they are described as a mere extension of the administrative agency for superior reviewing purposes as a ministerial clerk for an agency. They're working for the agency when they're working ministerially. They're not working judicially. They're not sitting as a judge. Now, let's look at even more. When acting to enforce the statute and its subsequent amendments to the present date, the judge of a municipal court is acting as an administrative officer and not in a judicial capacity. Courts administrating or enforcing statutes do not act judicially, but merely ministerially, but merely acts as an extension of the agent for the involved agency, but only in a ministerial and not a discretionary capacity. Thompson versus Smith, Kelly versus PRFRC versus GE. You see, it's a U.S. Supreme Court case. Now look at this one. This one is going to be really deep. Ministerial officers are incompetent to receive grants of judicial power from the legislature. Their acts in attempting to exercise such powers are necessarily nullities. That's Burns versus Superior Court. Now, what we're finding that is in our superior courts, what's happening is that they have these juvenile so-called abuse and neglect courts that they're bringing in up under it. And they're telling us that we have judges that are making decisions. Watch what this one says. A judge ceases to sit as a judicial officer because the governing principles of administrative law provides that courts are prohibited from substituting their evidence, testimony, record, arguments, and rationale for that of the agency. Additionally, courts are prohibited from substituting their judgments for that of the agency. Now, what's happening is that many times we're not realizing that our judges are not really acting as judges. So they're sitting there making orders, telling people they could go pick up your kids and take them. But the simple fact that we saw here that it said the judge ceases to sit as a judicial officer because the governing principles of administrative law provides that courts are prohibited from substituting their evidence, testimony, record, argument, rationale, and such. We see that they're not sitting judicially. So how are they making orders telling you they can take your kid? How are they making orders saying that your rights are terminated? How can they make an order that says you can't see your little one anymore? What's happening is that they're trafficking us into their agencies and putting their duties on us as if we're part of them. And you can't do that. Now, the funny thing is that people may not understand why these things are happening. So we got to look and see what the heck is going on that's allowing these people to do these things to us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little hint so you can see what's going on. We're going to look here at 45 CFR 302.34. It's called cooperative arrangements. It deals with contracts. Look at this. Public welfare, Office of Child Support Enforcement, program, not law, program, Administration for Children and Families, Department of Health and Human Services, 302.4, state plan requirements, cooperative arrangements. If you go look here, you'll find out that there is a contract between the federal government executive branch and the state government executive branch. This is not a situation where people are just doing all this stuff with taking kids because it's in the best interest of the child, and they're not doing child support because it's in the best interest of the child. I'll get you the case law to prove to you it has nothing to do with being in the best interest of the child or that children are safe. What it has to do with is the federal government is giving money to the child support separate business, separate organization, and the DCS or CPS organization. That's what's really happening. Now, don't take my word for it. Let's go to Title 42 USC where they come up with their health and welfare. Watch this. Title 42 US Code USC 674, payments to states. Amounts for each quarter beginning September 30th, 1980. Each state which has a plan approved under this part shall be entitled to a payment equal to the sum of, and now it's telling the amounts of money that is going to give for people who do foster care. There's one I want you to see though in particular so you can get an understanding of what's really happening. Watch this. We're going to look in, I think it's section 3B. 75% of so much of such expenditures, including travel and per diem expenses, as for the short-term training of current or prospective foster care or adoptive parents or relative guardians, the members of the staff of state licensed or state-approved child care institutions providing care, or state licensed or state-approved child welfare agencies providing services to children receiving assistance under this part, and members of the staff of abuse and neglect courts. And members of the staff of abuse and neglect courts. And members of the staff of abuse and neglect court. Now, sorry, I almost shut off the video. The funny thing is that they're giving money to the abuse and neglect courts. So the abuse and neglect courts are acting as clerks, if they're administrative, for the agency. So the federal government is paying the abuse and neglect court money inside of the state program. That means, let's look again. And hold on, let me flip it around. I'm sorry. Look at this. And members of the staff of abuse and neglect courts, that includes the fake judge who's acting administratively and not as a judge, agency attorneys, attorneys representing children or parents, guardian ad litem, or other court-appointed special advocates representing children in proceedings of such courts. It ain't really no freaking court. It's a fake court. So they're getting paid off. It's just an agency working to make money as a business in ways to increase the ability of such current and prospective parents, guardians, staff members, institutions, attorneys, and advocates to provide support and assistance to foster and adopted children and children living with relative guardians, whether incurred directly by the state or by contract. Now, here's the funny thing. These people are coming saying that they need to take your kids from you. They're acting like they're working under law, but they're not. What they're really doing is they're working under contract. Now, let's look up this contract, or let's look up the idea of being under contract, because there's two ways that people could be doing things in law. Let's look at it. You have one way that's called ex contractu, which means from a contract. It's a legal term that indicates consequence of a contract. Ex contractu is often to denote the source of legal action, often as opposed to ex delicito. Ex delicito comes from somebody doing you wrong or harm or tort. Notice that in those courts, they never want to say that the parents are wrong or that they know that they committed a crime so that they can arrest them. What they're doing is just running a business where they're taking your kid under the color of law. They're acting like they're doing it because the child was injured. It has nothing to do with injured children. I even have a document that I'll show you guys later that came from the Pinal County Guardian ad litem handbook that tells you that they're not trying to find parents as guilty. They're not trying to find the parents as guilty. So they're not looking for that. That's not what they're looking for. They're not looking to say that you are at fault and you did wrong. They want to take your kids. Now, watch this. These judges are working on something that is based off of a contract from Title 42 USC that has never been enacted into positive law. It is not a law. Their authority is not a law. Watch this. Watch this. This is going to get deep. Judge loses his absolute immunity from damage actions only when he acts in clear absence of all jurisdiction or performance of an act which is not judicial in nature. Okay? So when they take your kids from you and they're not trying to make a judicial decision, but they're literally acting as a clerk, they lose all of their immunity. Here's another one. When enforcing mere statutes, judges of all courts do not act judicially. They'll tell you that your kids are taken based on the statutes and thus are not protected by qualified or limited immunity. All right. So we see that there's a bunch of fraud going on here. Now, just to prove to you, and this information was given to me by Dale McCardle. It was posted. I'm going to show you the law where they made our new Arizona Department of Child Safety. And when they made this Department of Child Safety, they made the foolish mistake of writing in the laws what they really were doing. Remember, we have a judge that is acting judicially, and I'm not giving legal advice. I'm just showing y'all the truth. All right. This is for entertainment purposes. All right. So here's SB 1001 the bill where they're making, in 2014, making of the Arizona Department of Child Safety. Watch this. On the completion of the presentation of evidence, the administrative law judge, and I don't think that's in there anymore, shall determine if probable cause exists to sustain the department's finding that the parent, guardian, or custodian abused or neglected the child. Now, why the heck is somebody in the executive branch making the finding? Watch this. If the administrative law judge determines that probable cause does not exist to sustain the department's finding, the department is DCS. DCS is the one who's making the finding in the executive branch that you may have hurt your child or not. Look at this. The administrative law judge shall order the department to amend the information or finding in the report. That's on page 72 of the document. Here's another one. Unless waived by all parties, an administrative law judge shall conduct all hearings under the article and the procedural rules set forth in this article and rules made by the director apply. How the heck is the director making the rules for the court? Now, all I wanted to do here is let you guys see a couple of things. There's a difference between administrative law judges and a judge that's sitting in his judicial capacity. Could it be that these DCS, CPS courts are bringing us there, making us get attorneys that will not tell us that this is only an administrative hearing and it is not a judicial court? It is not a court of record. It is not a court of law. It is not a court where you receive due process. The judge's orders are void because the judge can't make order when they're acting ministerially. We just saw that the legislature can't give power to people who are acting in administrative capacity to make orders and do stuff like that. They are necessarily nullities. Okay, so these people are taking our kids and tricking us to think that it's because they want to make sure people are safe. They're not telling you that the courts are being paid, the guardian ad litems are being paid, everybody in the business is getting paid, but the parents who made the little ones. Isn't that strange? They are taking in Arizona 900 kids a month approximately. They're taking all these kids with no warrants, and they'll tell you that there's a court order for the kid to stay in the possession of DCS, but the one who's sitting in the front with a robe on taking you to a courtroom is not a judge. All right, so y'all share the heck out of this video, get it out there, let me know what y'all think. This is just freaking ridiculous, and I got more for you, but it's just outrageous and people are being done wrong and we got to stop this mess. Okay, so I wanted to get that to you guys. I love all you guys. Hey, look at this. Don't think the judges are kingpins, because if the judge is acting ministerially, then that ministerially, that means that you have more power than him as one of the people. Okay, so these so-called judges are not acting in a judicial capacity. They're just clerks. They just sign off stuff for the agency. You just seen that in the law. If you did not see it, go back and look at it. Share this like crazy. Make it viral. It's time that we stand up in the family court fight across the nation. I got some more documents that I show you guys where they tell that they even got different sets of procedures and rules to their guardian ad litems in Arizona. I'll show you guys the document later, but I don't want this video to be too long, and it's too long already. All right, so share it. Let me know what you guys think. I will catch you guys later. I love y'all. Peace.